Welcome back to the Imaginary Gallery. It is PJ here, again, your host. Tonight's a topic about abuse, which, when we say abuse, that encompasses physical abuse and or emotional abuse, both of which are traumatic. And the tip for tonight is how to recognize a potential abuser. Now, of course, not every single situation is going to fall under this, but what I'm providing here is based on a wide range of experience with such people who actually are some form of cluster B abusers. And again, if you didn't catch it in the other videos, doesn't matter about any specific diagnosis. I'm not here to say, I'm going to show you what to do to find out if your person is a blah, blah, or blah. No. That, like back to the poison deal, or the example we use is we're not here to give any official diagnosis because different story, but the point is, if you're dealing with a toxic or dangerous person, doesn't matter if there's a specific label. And the example I give for that would be, let's say you're a parent and your daughter is about to marry a man, and you look up his criminal record and you see that he raped 3 teenagers. Oh, he murdered 2 teachers. Oh, he stole money from here. And you can sit there for hours and wonder what label you can give him, like, is he a thief? Or is he a rapist? Or is he a criminal? Whatever. The point is, yes, criminal is the right word. Doesn't matter which specific line or headline you give him. The point is, to make it simple, he's bad news, period. Forget the labels. So, here we go with the abusers. And I think I've covered in a different video. Abusers don't walk around like, for example, I'm wearing a wife beater tonight, but that's only because it's extremely hot and the air conditioning does not come up into this room that well. So, but it's perfect for this theme. But abusers do not walk around with a big A on their forehead or with a t-shirt that says, I'm going to abuse you. No, and when you hear like stories from, like, just say friends or coworkers of yours who say, "Oh, she's getting a divorce." Why? Well, her husband, he took a knife to her and almost killed, or something like that. And you'll hear that, and it's very common for the average lay person to wonder, well, how could she ever even get involved with such a person if that's what happened? Well, we know the answer is because the abusers do not wear the signs on their face or their clothes. They present themselves as an ordinary, normal, which means non-disordered, human being, and they are appealing to your every desire, so one wouldn't necessarily know it was an abuser. My point here is directed to those of you who maybe have just recently met someone. And this next part is kind of, can go 2 ways, because I've suggested in other videos, if you meet somebody new, and let's just say your last experience was a cluster B abusive thing, it's a good idea to keep that information quiet, but I know how tempting it is if you meet somebody new and they're like saying, oh, I had such a great time with you, I want to see you again. It's easy for you to say, you know what, I've had a good time too, but I just came out of an emotionally abusive, or physically, or both, whatever. It's very tempting to say that, because what I've learned is if one of these people finds you, which they probably have because there's some kind of magnetic frequency that draws them to you even without knowing the detail, if you then further it by saying, oh, my last person was abusive, that is like a golden egg for these people. Because, and of course, with their wonderful, perfect mask of, oh, because clearly if you've been through it all and you tell them, which could be a mistake, but if you do, if it slips out, these people will be more than likely to be saying things like, oh, that is so sad that happened to you. And then, of course, the mirroring comes in with, oh, I've been through that too. Because with these people, they see you as that golden egg, and they don't want to let you slip away because they can see where you're at. They see you were previously involved with some abusive type person, and now you are on your own, and so they see that as like a valuable catch. They know with your non-interest in like establishing anything serious at this point, they fear that you might be led astray elsewhere with possibly a real person who has no intention of hurting him or her, and they can't let that slip out of their hands. So they'll be the ones to throw on the fake mirroring, such as I've encountered in a few occasions where maybe you hang out with them for the night, and then they're like, I'm going to see you again tomorrow, and the next, and you say, you stop, and you tell them if you do or if you don't, regardless, they will, if they catch on to your history, they'll be the first ones to say, oh, all that stuff happened to me too. And that is designed to get your guard lowered, so you will realize, or fake realize, that this person actually knows what you went through. So that will hopefully, in their eyes, get you to open up more. Well, here's where we get into the advice. The important thing here is to ask questions. And because we know cluster B evil people exist, we're not necessarily concerned with the truthfulness of the actual claims. I'll just tell you. If you find yourself in a situation where someone is pushing and pushing and pushing and wanting to move in and wanting to do all this, and yet you feel you don't really know the person, and you try to push them back by saying things like, oh, I went through this horror with someone and I just don't want to make that mistake again. Regardless, what these people will do is they will act like they're extremely understanding. Such as, oh, they'll say, and here we go with some of the key points. Look out for absolute statements. Such as, if you do happen to tell what happened, an absolute statement would be, oh, that is so terrible. Well, I would never do that to you. Key fakery. And the other part would be, oh, I'm always faithful in my relationships. Another one. Because what I've discovered in my experience in life is that very few things are absolutes, such as the always or never. Now, some things, maybe, but generally, no. Things are not like that. But, back to the subject, that such cluster B creatures are drawn to previous abuse victims. You can never be too careful. And you can keep it all to yourself, just because if you don't, you'll be looking like a conspiracy tinfoil hat theorist. So, it's a good thing, at least when meeting a new person, to keep a lot of it quiet. Because again, like I am, I'll be like, I'll just throw it all out, and that is a mistake, or it can be, if you're dealing with such a person. But the reason you're here is you're probably with someone new, and they seem too good to be true, and that could be a song for you, and da 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 da. But look out for if they push you, like, well, what happened? Did someone abuse you? They're going to ask questions, and it's going to come out. I mean, it eventually will, especially if you're not, like, running up with them to their level and not saying why. So here is a test you can give. The key is listening. So when you're, let's just say, out at a dinner date with the potential monster, you may have expressed your fear of intimacy or closeness, and that's when this person starts to perform. So this is where you pay attention, because he or she will say, oh, I know exactly what that's like. And that's when you're like, okay, what do you mean? Tell me more. And this is where you listen. Because what I've found with numerous contestants, there's a way to tell if the person you're talking with is a fake or if they're actually real. You've alluded to the fact you've been abused in some way. Well, this is where you prick your ears up and you hear their story. And I'll just give a phony example, but because remember, they're trying to win you over to their side because they know you're going to be tough. Because basically, they know that you've suffered with the very type of abuse they've done onto others and know that you might be standoffish. So, they may tell you stories like, oh, well, my ex-partner chased me around the house with a knife. I almost got stabbed and died. Well, that's a great dramatic story, which is designed to appeal to your knowledge of such things, which is probably going to be more extreme than the one you told. Well, this is where you pay attention. Like if someone said that to me, my first gut reaction would be, why on earth would she chase you with a knife and try to slit your throat? That's a normal question. Well, this is the answer to look out for. Be aware if you hear an answer like, oh, I don't know, she was just crazy. Or, I don't know, I think it's just because she's abusive. Or any other I don't know type response. Wrong. Probably phony. Because, think about it logically. People who grab knives and chase other people around the house generally do it for a reason. It's just not like a normal behavior, especially if this is someone he's claiming or she's claiming is an ex-partner. Well, if they're that unstable, they do crap like that, you would think they'd never make it past the second date, but yet it was a several month or year arrangement, so you have a lot of questions going in your head, because the worse this person makes that one sound, the more you question, like, well, what's wrong with your judgment then? But they don't seem to understand this. They think that they can just pull you in with their dramatic claims of, oh, and one time she tried to strangle me. Oh, and again, it's like, well, why would she do that? It is a valid question. And if you get another response, like, she's crazy, well, that is fail. Because what I've learned from various, multiple experiences is what these people are doing is they're acting. The truth is, they did whatever they're saying their partner did to them, and they did it because their partner basically figured out their scam and reacted against it with retaliation. Just exactly as you will end up doing if you stick around. Because typically, the cluster bead monster comes to you and even says he or she's a victim and wants you to feel sorry for him or her, and you do, and you hear the sob stories and think, well, I'm going to make the difference in this person's life. I wouldn't do that. And you're going to fall for all this crap. So you may ask then, well, how do you tell a genuine abuse victim who isn't using ulterior motives to get closer to you just so they can put you through the same hell again? Well, I would think that, like in my case, I was with a person who did not have empathy, who did not seem to care that even though in the beginning I brought it into my space, and we lived, and then moved into a bigger space, and then later moved into his or house, well, I would be thinking that, okay, well, I brought you into my place, I rescued you, and da-da-da-da. And then he found the need to announce that he'd found a new person, just like I predicted decade before. You're going to leave me for someone new. Oh no, I'll be with you forever, I was told. In this case, I'm right. I called it, it happened, and this is where the abuse came from. Because I would be like, hey, wait a second. I told you this would happen. You said it wouldn't. And you basically give them fact after fact to prove your case. And that is when people like this turn out to be abusive, because they don't have a leg to stand on. Because you called it. They said it would never happen. It did happen. So now you're like, okay, I told you it would happen. It did. How could this be? And they will become violent. They will become Tasmanian devils. They will fight and hit because they have nothing else to use, because their game is up. And that's just the way these people work. So yeah, that's exactly why the person I was with became abusive. And I became furious. I took like a belt and I slapped it against the couch. Not on any person, but on the couch, thinking, because it created fury. Because I'm thinking, I trusted my life with you, and this is... Pow! Well, then it, in turn, attacks and does its stuff. But see, you won't hear anything like that from a cluster B abusive person, because they don't understand what betrayal really is. They don't understand the emotions involved, and they just want to be sensational for you, so you'll think they can be trusted. Anyway, I think that's enough to cover this one for the evening.
I know what I said, but I changed my mind. I'm getting married.
Hello?
I'm getting
I
married
didn't see you there. Are you still here?
What?
Hope you enjoyed your order.
I know we just met, but I can feel it. I know that you're the one. I can just tell. No? Did you say no to me? You're gonna say no to me. I beg your pardon. Who do you think you're talking to?
My last words to you are, you blew it. No one else would ever love you the way you are. You blew it because I'm the only one who would ever put up with your crap. No one's gonna take you in the position you're in. Are you kidding me? Well, you had your chance.